In the late 18th century, the once powerful Qing Dynasty China found itself in a state of decline. Corruption eroded the foundations of the imperial bureaucracy, peasant rebellions erupted throughout the vast territory, and the growing pressure from foreign powers, notably the British with their opium trade, weakened the government's authority. This chaotic scenario resulted in the loss of control over the coastal regions, creating a power vacuum that allowed piracy to flourish. Southern China, with the strategic province of Guangdong and the fertile Pearl River Delta, had always been a centre of prosperous maritime trade. However, the neglect of the imperial fleet turned the region into a breeding ground for piracy. The pirates, once scattered and opportunistic, began to organise into large fleets, attacking Chinese and foreign merchant ships, extorting coastal villages, and establishing alliances with local merchants. It was in this environment of chaos and opportunity that Zheng Yi Sao was born, around 1775 in Ching Shih, Guangdong. In 1801, the already declining Qing Empire lost control of the waters of southern China. Piracy, once dispersed, began to organise into large fleets, and no name was more feared than Zheng Yi, captain of the Red Flag Fleet. It was in this context that he met Zheng Yi Sao, who worked in a floating brothel in Canton. There are two versions of this meeting. Some chronicles of the time suggest that he took her by force, as was common among pirates who kidnapped women from coastal villages or looted ships. Other sources, including reports from Portuguese merchants, claim that she negotiated her own marriage, demanding equal command and a share of the loot. Regardless of how they met, Zheng Yi integrated Zheng Yi Sao into pirate operations, allowing her to participate in strategic meetings and command ships. She learned navigation, combat tactics, and pirate diplomacy, earning the crew's respect. Zheng Yi's death in 1807 could have marked the end of Zheng Yi Sao's influence, but she demonstrated extraordinary political astuteness, taking full control of the fleet. To consolidate her power, she formed a strategic alliance with Zhang Bao, a former fisherman adopted by Zheng Yi and his right-hand man. This partnership, which some accounts suggest evolved into a romantic relationship, transformed piracy in the region. In order to strengthen her control, she encouraged alliances between her captains and families of other pirate leaders, employing marriages as a political strategy. Meanwhile, Zhang Bao led attacks against rival groups, integrating the survivors into the Red Flag Fleet, a strategy that expanded their dominance over the maritime routes of southern China. In 1 year, the number of ships under their command doubled. Their fleet became one of the largest in the history of piracy, with estimates ranging from 400 to 800 ships and 20,000 to 40,000 men, operating as a military organisation that rivaled the navies of the time. The command structure was rigorous, divided into specialised squadrons under the command of experienced captains, each responsible for different aspects of pirate operations. The fleet was mainly composed of Chinese junks, versatile and adaptable vessels to the region's conditions. The junks varied in size and function. War junks, large and robust, armed with cannons, designed for naval combat, crucial in battles, intimidating enemies, often leading to surrender. Cargo junks, essential for logistics, carrying loot, supplying the fleet and distributing wealth. Smaller junks, agile for reconnaissance, rapid attacks and boarding, and allowing for surprises and facilitated attacks. Equipped with bamboo sails for precise manoeuvres and cannons, the ships varied in armament according to function. Zheng Yi Sao did not hesitate to use brutal tactics to achieve her goals. Incendiary ships, loaded with flammable materials, were launched against enemy vessels, causing destruction and panic. Furthermore, she employed psychological warfare tactics, such as displaying the violence of her attacks to intimidate her adversaries and force them to surrender. One of her most effective tactics was the blockade of strategic ports. By preventing the entry and exit of merchant and military ships, she strangled trade and forced entire coastal cities to pay exorbitant tributes. She controlled crucial trade routes in the South China Sea, extorting protection fees and offering armed escort. The opium route between Canton and Macau had strategic blockade points, where merchant ships were forced to pay protection fees. Those who submitted received security passes with red wax seals, documents as valuable as the transported merchandise itself. In the Strait of Malacca, ships permanently patrolled the 3 vital straits, with toll collection posts on strategically positioned islands. making any attempt at evasion impossible. The pirate queen maintained an extensive network of spies who collected information about her enemies, trade routes, military forces, and attack plans. This information was transmitted through messengers and other communication methods, allowing her to anticipate her adversaries' movements and plan her operations with precision. Each fleet and squadron within Zheng Yi Sao's organization had distinct colored flags, allowing for quick identification and coordination during battles and operations. Flags were also used to transmit simple messages, such as attack, retreat, or follow. During the day, smoke signals were used to communicate messages over long distances. The amount, colour, and patterns of the smoke conveyed specific information, such as the location of enemy ships, the presence of danger, or the need for reinforcements. At night, lanterns were used to transmit visual messages. The combination of lights, colours, and patterns allowed communication between ships and coastal bases, even in low visibility conditions. Drums and gongs were used to transmit sound messages over short distances. The rhythms and patterns of the sounds indicated different orders, such as preparing for combat, boarding the enemy ship, or gathering the fleet. Cannon shots were used to signal messages over long distances. The number of shots and the intervals between them conveyed specific information, such as the need for urgent help or the location of an attack. Smaller, agile boats were used to send written or oral messages between ships and coastal bases. In addition to the communication methods mentioned, Zheng Yi Sao also used a strict code of laws to maintain order and discipline in her fleet. Deserters had their ears cut off as a warning to others. Traitors were executed, demonstrating that loyalty was absolute. Rape was punishable by death, preventing violence against women. The fair distribution of loot was the backbone of their code. 20% of the loot went to the central treasury, ensuring resources for the fleet, while the rest was divided among the crew. This system promoted loyalty and motivation, as each pirate knew that their contribution would be rewarded fairly. The Qing Navy, the pride of the dynasty, already weakened, suffered humiliating defeats at the hands of the Red Flag. European powers also felt the weight of Zheng Yi Sao's dominance. British and Portuguese ships were frequently attacked. When the costs of maintaining the empire began to outweigh its benefits, Zheng Yi Sao orchestrated a calculated retreat. During 6 months of secret negotiations, she conducted a gradual and orderly withdrawal, converting her pirate assets into legitimate properties and business investments. The strategic sale of several obsolete ships financed this transition, demonstrating the same pragmatic vision that built her empire. In 1810, Zheng Yi Sao, the fearsome pirate queen, signed a surrender agreement. When the Qing government, humiliated by repeated naval defeats, recognized the military impossibility of defeating the Red Flag fleet. The final agreement contained very advantageous clauses for the pirate. Full amnesty, all pirates under her command would receive full pardon, without exceptions, a crucial detail that ensured that there would be no subsequent arrests for previous crimes. The wealth accumulated by Zheng Yi Sao would remain entirely in her hands. The government even provided armed escort to transport her treasure to land. Zhang Bao was appointed lieutenant colonel of the Qing Navy, receiving command of a squadron based in Guangdong. Even more surprisingly, many former pirates were incorporated into the imperial forces as elite troops. The Red Flag's land bases were transformed into Zheng Yi Sao's private properties. After her surrender, she invested her wealth in legal businesses, including pawnshops in Guangzhou and possibly a floating casino on the Pearl River, a common practice among former pirates in the region. Furthermore, many of her former subordinates were employed as armed guards for merchant ships, offering protection on routes they once plundered. Zhang Bao, now a respected officer, used his position to protect the couple's business interests until his death in 1822. The pirate's queen died of old age in 1844, at the age of 69, surrounded by wealth, a very rare fate for someone who had defied empires. Her story in Guangdong remains as a testament to how the most successful pirate in history not only survived her reign but transcended life outside the law to become a legend.